Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. The road to Doomsday continues. We are now in the third era of Marvel films. The first era, the pre-MCU era, is over. The second era, the Paramount years, is now done. We are now in the years where Disney has acquired the Marvel properties, and we will see those films very shortly. But first, we have a Sony debut. This, I think, is also the last era where Fox is run by Fox. I think maybe there's some Fox bleed over into the fourth era, and then after that, it's the Disney takeover. We are starting with an unpopular movie from a series of unpopular movies. However, I've been on record since day one. I've loved both movies in this franchise. I think they're incredibly underrated. I think at the time people felt there was no need for them because the original film had only come out 10 years earlier. I am, of course, talking about The Amazing Spider-Man. I love both of these movies. I think the first one is great. I think the second one is incredibly underappreciated. People say that it has a villain problem, but I just don't see that. I don't see it at all, to be honest, because they were world building. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So The Amazing Spider-Man, 2012. It's a reboot, so it's the Spider-Man origins all over again. This time we've got Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. We have Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. We've got Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, Sally Field as Aunt May, and Rhys Ifans as Kurt Connors, the Lizard. So look, having watched these films both in pretty close succession, I was shocked at how similar they were. It's been a while since I've watched them both so closely together. It's not a beat-for-beat remake, but there's a lot of similar story beats. They add a few new things. We've got some of Peter's parents in this, which we didn't have in the original trilogy, alluding to their kind of like spy storyline. In the Marvel comics, if I remember correctly, they worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. I could be wrong. And if I am, someone will correct me. That's fine. We don't have a Harry Osborn in this. We've got a Flash Thompson. But this Peter Parker is very different. He's not a loser. He's not unpopular the way Tobey's one was. I remember my biggest critique of this movie when it came out. I loved it, but I was like, is Peter Parker too sexy? Because he skateboards, he listens to cool music. Girls do talk to him, even if they're not talking to him to spend time with him. He's just a loner. This is real different. He tends to keep to himself. So it's a different take on Peter Parker, but I do like it. And I think Andrew Garfield's really charming in the role. I love Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. In fact, the highlight of this film is their chemistry. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that they were in a romantic relationship off screen. I always forget that they're no longer together. I always wish that they are because I love them so much together. But it really lends to the story, especially because you don't have the built-in narrative. In the original one with Tobey, he starts the film by saying that he's been in love with Mary Jane since he was like 4 years old. In this one, it seems like him and Gwen have never really crossed paths before based on the way they interact. But their chemistry is so good that you don't care that there's not that backstory. So this one, very similar story. He gets bitten by a spider. This time the spider was being developed by Oscorp. So even though there are no Osborns in this film, they are building the mythos there. It turns out maybe even his dad was involved in the creation of the radioactive spider, as was Kurt Connors, who is our primary villain in this film. Just like Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin in the original Spider-Man film, the storyline is very similar. It's a mentor-type character who is looking to kind of take care of Peter, take him under his wing, admires his scientific knowledge, and then through experimentation becomes a deranged monster. So the beats are very similar. I think I prefer the Kurt Connors version over Green Goblin, not because I don't like Willem Dafoe. He's perfect in the role, and that story is fantastic. I just like that it has a deeper connection to his parents, whereas I like Green Goblin as an overarching villain for multiple films. The fact that we lost him at the end of the first Spider-Man meant we didn't get to see him do more horrible things. What else do I love about the film? Just the visual style. Obviously, it's 10 years on. CGI's gotten a lot better. They do a lot of POV shots of him swinging, which I really enjoy as well. I think just the emotional core rings truer for me. I felt like in the original trilogy, the Aunt May Peter relationship was very sweet, but it didn't go particularly deep. It was very surface level, where there are some really wonderful scenes with Peter and Aunt May in this film that work really well. Just like the original Spider-Man trilogy, this movie makes me cry, of course. There's a beautiful moment at the end where Peter and Gwen kind of interact in the classroom, and I burst into tears every single time. They use web shooters, the built-in ones, not the organic ones. Here's how little I knew about Spider-Man as a kid. I didn't know he didn't shoot webs from his wrist. I just assumed that was part of it. I'd never read a comic book at that point. But this introduces the web shooters, and I think they do a good job there, especially in the third act when the lizard destroys them and takes that out of the equation. So Spider-Man has to rely on his wit as opposed to just using his gadgets. It's a really good flick. If you hadn't seen the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi one, this, I think, would be your definitive Spider-Man film. It's really, really good. Great cast, really fun, good action. Just a solid entry all around. So if you haven't seen Amazing Spider-Man, go and check it out. If it's been a minute, check it out again. Do I think anyone from this film is showing up in Doomsday or Secret Wars? Because I forgot to do that last time. I think Andrew Garfield's definitely coming back. I think he's going to make an appearance. I think he wants to do more with that character. I would love Emma Stone back as Gwen Stacy, or alternatively as a Spider-Gwen. I think there's room for that. I think that would be really fun to see her come back in some variant of Gwen Stacy. I don't think we'll need the Lizard again, and I don't think any other characters are going to come back. But I think those two will come back in one or both of those movies. Next up is Iron Man 3.